Check stream. Good evening. How are we all? You have to excuse us just for 1 second whilst we double check a few things. Good evening. Yeah, everything's working. We're waiting on tonight's sitter, who is supposed to be turning up.
Wouldn't be the first time someone's just bailed on me.
Be here shortly. You've got pallet to clean anyway, James.
Yeah, I do.
Get on with it.
Right. Well, momentarily.
Why? I could do it from mine if it was you're going to contact him via Instagram.
It is Monday today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back again. Yes, pallet cleaning.
So, how are you, James?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks. Been a busy week, but it's nice to be sitting down to do a painting. It'd be nice if everyone else cooperated.
I can always sit again.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
It needs to be. I have to apologise profusely to everybody that's going to be watching.
Yeah, to me.
Yeah, you don't count.
Okay. Yeah. Clean up the knife. I've got, so it's interesting with a portrait. I've got some sort of preconceived ideas of what it is I should do. I feel like I'd want to do something close up, but until someone's actually sat there, you can't really make those decisions. And what have I got? Have I got anything on here worth keeping left over from the oranges? I don't think I have. So take it. Yep, sounds on. That's good.
Yeah, sounds all right. Oh, I've done it.
Yes, if anyone wants the last minute to sit for a portrait, you're very welcome to come and sit in the chair.
Yeah.
If you do, it'll automatically appear, I imagine. Yeah, I've often felt like a cameo in other people's lives. Like I'm sort of not really a real person. And this is one of the things that makes me a part of that. Makes me feel that way. And I guess we're all that all the time anyway.
He knows where you live, doesn't he?
Huh?
He knows where you live, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yes, so hopefully it's just sort of disorganised or something. maybe I need to make more of a thing about it. But I suppose there is also this thing of, you know, you want to keep the pressure off. You don't want to be sort of making a big deal about it. Perhaps I should do that in future.
Is there anything on the palette that you're going to be able to keep?
I don't think so. No, I think I'm going to go for a full clean off today. Yeah. So yeah, the palette cleaning is a little bit of a ritual. It's quite nice to go through that process. Where's my box?
Oh, it's the with all the stuff in it. Sorry, I've got the messages coming through on mine. So
just have some cat cam from her.
Oh right, I see. What is cat cam?
Do something. Perform. Do a display. He's kind of doing a display. I think that is really.
No, don't go there.
Other people have party tricks. His is lying on the floor. Oh, that was it. I was looking for that box.
I was going to have one of those therapeutic things each like Monday when I turn up, and it's the kind of scraping sound of the. It's a marble top, isn't it, that you have on there?
On this
marble.
That's glass.
Ah. Yeah, it's the.
Marble would actually be a bit too soft, I don't. Yeah. Because you're scraping it with the blades. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. It's back to the ASMR thing again, isn't it?
I don't know what. Oh, is that the
sound stuff that people find really either quite relaxing?
Oh, like the sound of a babbling brook or a baby crying or something.
No, it's really weird things. It's
I don't think I've got Tom's direct number. I contacted him via Instagram, although I'd seen him in person when we discussed it.
we just said Howdy James and Co. on YouTube.
Who did, sorry?
Tom.
What does he think this is? Oh, Tom, you were meant to come and sit. That's when I sent you a message saying you're right for Monday evening. Ah, right, okay. Complete change of plan then. Ah. Ah. Oh.
Best laid plans.
Best laid plans of mice.
I can come now.
Yeah, go on then.
How long will it take you, mate? Shovel based?
I don't know. I'm sure it can. Harrison is furiously typing an answer as we speak.
I should have made that more obvious. How long will it take you to come, mate? Ten minutes.
Brilliant. See you in 10.
See you in 10. Amazing.
10 minutes of palette cleaning.
The cleanest palette you've ever worked from.
Oh, good God. I mean, really. Well, Oh dear. Yeah, so I've got a sitter coming soon.
10 minutes apparently.
He agreed to sit for a portrait and clearly thought he could do it from his own house, which is not how it works. I'm sure he was probably had other things on his mind and was just thinking. I was asking him to support it, and he showed up. So actually, yeah, I don't know how he got that idea. Oh well, it's probably my fault. It's not my fault. Yes, no, yeah, communications and all that. Sometimes I think I'm being very clear, and I'm in fact not being very clear at all. I'm going to retrieve out some of this unbleached titanium, and today I think I will get out the flake white. Yes, it's poison time. Don't touch it with your hands. So I will be putting the gloves on. It's not really that bad if you touch it with your hands. Didn't do Titian any harm. It's the dust you don't want, and as it's already paint, flake white isn't really in a position to harm anyone unless you eat it. And as I've said before, I mean, it's one piece of advice I always give people is don't eat paint. But first of all, it's a waste of paint. And yeah, second, it's probably not very good for you. Oh. So, you know what I might do?
Go on.
I think I might pre-mix some colours based on how I feel.
All going to be black.
Black!
Black! The black! The darkness!
Yeah.
I used to love that sketch on there.
It was great. They did it again and again. It never got boring.
It was that Harry Enfield and Jones?
No, it was the Fast Show.
Was it? Was the Fast Show? Yes,
Yeah.
it was the Fast Show, wasn't it?
It was. That's why I said it was.
They all blend into one, that. So, group,
Yeah.
don't they?
It was Charlie Higson as Johnny Nice Painter.
I never realised it was Johnny Nice
He's
Painter.
called Johnny Nice Painter. That's why before we went up on one, his wife would go, Johnny. And then he'd go mental. Yes, I've said it before, but what I really loved about the Johnny Nice Painter sketch, and do look it up if you don't know what we're talking about, is there's certain sort of... We're all, as human beings, we're all pretty lazy. We all want a little shortcut for things, you know. If someone in a messed up old coat tied together with string and a bedraggled beard and a can of special brew comes over and asks you for 20p for a cup of tea or something, you're not thinking that, you know, he needs to do this before his important business meeting or something, and it might actually seem damning. You don't know anything about that person and who they are and what they've been through or anything like that. But we have to make these sort of shortcut decisions about what we think is going on in the world around us. Otherwise, we'd never get anything done ever. And so people have this idea of what other people do based on these preconceptions. And I mean, there was a lot of memes about that. You know, what my friends think I do, what my mum thinks I do, what I actually do,
What I actually do.
and there's this idea of artists, and people are simultaneously kind of thinking, well, that's nice, isn't it? It's looking at things that are pretty and you know, trying to capture natural beauty and that kind of stuff. And how relaxing was splashing a bit of colour around. But also, you're full of angst, aren't you? You're full of angst and pain and like grappling with the cruelties of life in every moment. You know, you're also that. So, you know, you probably got a drinking habit, you know, and whatever else, you know, probably staying up till 4 a.m. taking laudanum or whatever it is you're meant to do. This sort of bohemian den of iniquity. But at the same time, you've got your beret on, you're going, oh, look, a lovely bit of orange. and you kind of think, well, make your mind up. Like you can't really be both. And Johnny Nice Painter was both, and that was what was so much fun about that sketch. He was a mix between I don't know, Francis Bacon and Alwyn Crawshaw. I don't know if you know who either of those people are.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Alwyn Crawshaw?
No, Francis Bacon. Yes.
Oh, right, yeah. Alwyn Crawshaw was a man with a nice hat and a white beard who'd be on the telly in the day doing nice watercolours.
Oh, lovely.
And having a lovely time. Yeah. Got a couple of different flake whites. I do rescue old tubes a bit from time to time from other people, but I'll bring a few of my paints. So I've got this Williamsburg one, which I quite like. And I've got this, and I got it from America. And it's yes. In fact, that's the wrong label. I know what that label's on. But yeah, this one I think is made by a small independent, but it's lovely. Done a nice job on it. There was a whole thing with lead white for quite a while. I think it was there was sort of, obviously you weren't allowed to use lead paint to paint children's toys or something someone might sand one day anymore, and those sorts of things. So they pretty much not banned it, but had all these sort of other regulations about how you could sell it and how it could be moved around. It became really, really expensive, so you had to go to quite some effort to get it. But that seems to have changed again now.
So what you're basically saying is quite some effort is black market. Shouldn't really have it in your possession.
Yeah, I had to go underground to get my flake white, which is nonsense, you know. And they would only sell it if you were a conservator or something like that. It's just madness. But yeah, but I mean, yeah, America obviously trusts people to make their own decision. So,
or it's
whether it should or not is an entirely different opinion.
just another way that one person can make money, so he's going to find out a way that he can sell it. So.
Yeah. But anyway, so it got sent over, surrounded. It just one tube of paint in a cookie box, it's surrounded by newspaper and a label that said, cryptically just said, "Artist Supplies." So they knew. I didn't have to say anything to them, and they didn't. They knew what the deal was. Oh look, another order from Europe for the lead white. What? How could that possibly be? But yeah, it lasts and lasts, and if you don't sort of ingest it, it really is perfectly safe. You know, don't deal with the dust.
So like
And don't sand it.
On the other end of the spectrum, it's the you surely must have heard of it, like the blackest black paint.
Oh yeah. Well, that's dealing with other qualities. This is very interesting. So that's nothing to do with the pigments, to do with the surface.
And that nothing about it is reflective.
Yeah, so parts of velvet will look blacker than anything else because there's these long spikes and the light will bounce in, but it can't bounce out again. So that ability to absorb light isn't intrinsically linked to you could have a very reflective surface, but if you've got a geometry where the light can't get out again, it will appear completely black. So it's not really about the
Okay.
sort of like the pigment kind of thing.
But there's just something really ridiculous about the story, which I'm sure that you've heard of.
Anish Kapoor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everybody that buys some has to sign a document saying that they will never sell it to Anish Kapoor.
Oh, no.
Or is that...
No, Anish Kapoor bought the patent or something, or the outright rights to this particular black pigment, so no one else could use it. And oh God, Stephen. No, hang on. Stuart Semple, who's a Bournemouth-based artist, I believe, made a blacker black. And if you wanted to buy it, you had to sign the thing saying you wouldn't sell it to Anish Kapoor. And then Anish Kapoor got hold of some and had a photo of him with his middle finger with the black pigment on it. It was a very fun.
I really loved
fun little game.
It's like that.
But it was. I mean, the thing is, it was a silly game, and none of it's that important. But there was a principle there of like the idea of. But ceramicists are very much like this. A ceramicist will find a glaze they like or a particular formulation of glazes, and they will keep it very, very secret. And they will also do their best to get it off the market so no one else can get hold of it, because that's one of the things that gives their work uniqueness. I mean, but lots of people can throw a pot, but if you're the only one with the glaze that will make it look like that, that's your edge.
Winner.
So so it's an interesting thing that I'm going to change this thinners out as well.
Is there a way to oh, brilliant. There's just I love this. Steve Henderson has just written on YouTube, "Hi guys, Jim, could you do a portrait of the chair?"
Yes. Oh, you haven't met my friend Steve, have you?
No. No. I think no, I have once, haven't I?
Maybe. I don't know. Well, possibly briefly. He's been down a bunch of times, but always been when we're doing work stuff. So.
Oh, so is he Exeter based?
Yes.
Yeah, I have met him.
Oh, well done. Well remembered. Yes, so that's Steve. No, I'm not going to. Yeah, I'm not going to do a full check.
It's just like a stick man.
I like to think I could do better than that. Well, I could invent a person, or I could. You know what would really boost this channel? Paranormal ghost painting.
Yes, exactly.
I have this gift.
You're just going to paint and see what appears.
You can't see it. Obviously, the camera doesn't pick it up. But so basically, we could have a séance. You could talk to the dead, and I could paint them.
I'll set them a Ouija board next to me.
Yeah, you can't operate a Ouija board on your own for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Well, perhaps we could do the Ouija board on your Sorry.
Ooh, that was exciting.
It wasn't. There we go. Oh, it's all going well this evening, isn't it?
Yeah. What that one is that?
To be honest, I don't know. I clicked on a different tab.
Cosmos. So it could be that.
Well, it's the seance, clearly.
Yeah. That's voices from beyond. Good. In spirits. Well, it's good to show the entire setup. Not that you can actually see me at all, but I'm just putting some clean spirit into the jar. Got a brush here which I missed. It fell on the floor and it was almost dry, and I think I've managed to retrieve it. So that's a delightful end to what could have been a tragic story of the loss of a perfectly good brush.
I'm not sure how to take this, James. We've got more people watching now
When I'm not
than we have in a while.
Where's the garden upstairs? Nice to see you, Tom. Nice to see you. Glad you could make it.
How you doing?
Come on in, have a seat. I've been trying to figure out, for the life of me, what the hell happened.
Yeah, well, I just thought you were kind of tenaciously advertising, promoting the evening, and I was like, yeah, cool.
I'm pretty sure I said, would you sit for a portrait? Did you that not bit not get through?
Information,
So all that time you were being polite and you thought I was just hawking my terrible live
and
stream.
I kind of like sat myself down at home and was like, yeah, sure, I'll have an evening of watching painting. That sounds nice.
I'm far more touched by the fact that you've actually logged in to watch it than
Yeah.
I'm annoyed about
I was like, should I send a message?
the misunderstanding.
I'll send a message and then.
And then you just jumped to it and came out.
That's all right.
That's wonderful.
I had kind of freed up my evening to sit and watch painting. It's fine to just sit and be painted.
Yeah, you can still see it on the screen.
All right, cool.
This is Graham.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing? All right.
You made me once before.
Probably in the coffee shop.
Yes. Yes.
Graham doesn't remember people who go into buy coffee.
Good
He can
idea.
only see pound signs.
Well, it's better than just seeing pigment, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So there is a weird thing when you're painting that, especially with portraits. I kind of passed it, but there was this sort of weird period where people were just skin, gums and teeth and tear ducts and just
Just
this
parts.
stuff.
They're just
Exactly,
parts.
yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of ceased being able to see buildings properly now.
Oh, good, with the stonemasonry.
Yeah. I just sometimes see shades of colour of buildings or materials, but rarely do I actually take in the whole building. So it's like, oh, it's a lovely church. And, oh yeah, it's a church. Yeah, great.
Tom
The stone here is particularly interesting.
yeah.
Tom is a mason, but not in the knee tickling, favour exchanging way.
Unless you.
Unless you do that too, I don't know.
No. I actually went to the knee ticklers to get money, but they wouldn't give me any.
To an actual mason.
I went to the big place.
They don't want to support actual masons.
No, I know, that's what I thought was funny.
No irony there, is
And they were really confused too. I was like, yeah, I'm a mason. They're like, right, great, well, you're available for funding. I was like, great. So what fraternity are you part of? Like, I work in Dorset. And so then they sent me downstairs for the charities, and they kind of like spent ages scrambling around and were like, oh, we don't actually support you. I was like, right, that's a bit of a flaw in your advertising there. But sure.
There is a Masonic Lodge in Sherborne, so you probably could join.
The Lodge of Benevolence, yeah. I probably
And-
be
and,
alright, so.
They, I mean, they seem friendly enough. It's easy to find because it's right next to the police station of all places.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I was invited, well,
And there is a shed out the back. So it's got all the sort of frosted
Okay.
windows and stuff. But at the back there's this shed, and it looks like where I keep either equipment or a gimp. I can't really. It looks dodgy. It looks really
I mean,
off.
depending how far you want to take it, a GIMP could be termed as equipment. So.
Exactly. Yeah, so I don't know if they have that. I mean, I don't know much about the Masons. I did once play at a Masons do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A local?
It was at a golf club, and they did this thing. It was wives' night or ladies' night kind of thing.
Wait, Ladies' Night in the Masons?
Yeah, but not like in a cool in the
Women
gang
night
kind of
out
way.
to be- Okay, right.
But yeah, and it's a social thing. There's a bunch of people being civilized and social and having a dinner, but it's sort of run by the ladies, the wives of
The Wives of Masons.
chaps who are the Masons. And yeah, the only weird thing about it was that the woman said, so after you finished, and this was a jazz band, she said, so once you've finished, we'll we'll wrap it up with God Save the Queen and Old Lang Syne, and then and we went, oh, okay.
You had to play it.
Yeah. So we finished by playing this, which we weren't really. It was a bit of a surprise that, but she said it so matter of factly, like, of course, you play this at the end of every gig. Quite. But yes, all the other stuff is fairly sort of cloistered and private, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I did sort of invite myself into the Masons once. Kind of was living at a friend's house, and I noticed the lodge on the way up to the hill. And one night I just saw the doors were open, so I thought, no, I'm just going to go in. And I went in, and there was no one in there. And then I was walking out, and suddenly everyone in suits was showing up. And they're like, well, what are you doing here? And I said, well, this is a very strange thing, but I had a dream that I joined you last night. I actually did have a dream, and that was what was weird, was the next day the doors were open. And the guy was like, okay, I didn't tell him all the parts of the dream, because all the parts of the dream was that Mr. Bean ended up being the one that kind of indoctrinated me in, and that was all sorts of weird. But he was like, oh, okay, have you ever been invited? I was like, no. He's like, well, you could go see the secretary, and we could get the ball rolling. And I did. I went to meet the secretary just for fun, and then I bailed out because they wanted me to be able to wear a black suit, and it was going to cost £100 a year. And at that time, I couldn't afford a black suit, and I didn't have £100 in my pocket.
Is that all it is? £100 a year?
And a black suit. You'll be fine. But yeah.
Right. It's a very interesting thing. I mean, it makes the most sense in the world if you look at where it comes from, because the Masons had to keep their secrets. It was basically like the first union, wasn't it?
Yeah, essentially, most of the ways that cathedrals and that kind of architecture is done is that it was when the trade between the countries in the Middle East, like before the Crusades and during them, it's when they went to the Middle East and was like, oh, you have impressive architecture and mathematics. We better take some of those ideas and bring it back over here. And you'd either have the artisans themselves coming back to England and helping them build the cathedrals, or you'd learn the secrets, which would take ages, and then come back. And so then, yeah.
But then you'd have to pass them on. And you'd have to be in control of who you pass them on to.
And you're in the most lucrative business in the world at that time, which is cathedral building.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't do them as often now.
There's still one getting done.
Oh, well, yeah, the Gaudi one is still underway, isn't it? It's Chinese now, isn't it, or something? The Chinese company's taking it over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they're taking their turn of not finishing it.
Surveillance camera on the top of every tower.
Could be, who knows? Right.
Am I just meant to sit here?
Yeah, well, you're very flat and plain at the moment. So, and I'm sorry about the light. It's a bit like being interviewed by the Stasi, isn't it?
Yeah, he didn't warn you about that bit, did he?
Somehow, a lot of the information escaped me.
It's almost as if you weren't paying any attention to me at all.
Well, we could argue all night.
So yeah, so I could turn the chair. Let's actually turn the chair slightly towards Graham. You will be chatting to her a bit. There you are. That's good. Yeah. 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 And you can look up. You can look down again.
You're looking at me with like the eyes of a trained. It's like an eagle looking at you.
Okay.
Or more like prey than ever before.
Yes, and just relax. This won't hurt a bit. Okay. You don't
Right, because you'll be able to watch it whilst it's kind of being done with the position that way.
Luckily, my vision isn't that good.
Okay. Haven't got any. First thing I want to do is I'm going to get a colour. And I want to get a colour that's sympathetic to. I think I'm going to go with a red, simply because you raced to get here. And I put a bit of alizarin in it.
Where from? Where's home?
I'm just near Western Bishops down Wandle. So if you're really going fast, you can make it to Sherborne in 7 minutes.
Not that you know that for officially, but no. Yeah.
Not that this is being recorded and could be found by the police. But yeah, you can make it. With a bit
Cool.
of aquaplaning.
Been out there long?
Almost 30 years.
Oh well, cool.
I kind of lived out of the suitcase for a little bit, working my way around the southwest. I was in Devon for 2 years. Now I'm in London.
Cool.
But yeah, almost 30 years.
So you're living in London, but what's your connection for here then?
Well, my parents' house is still there, and there was tons of work for me this summer down here, so it made sense to, while I don't have as much work in London, to come down here and work.
Yeah, cool.
Rent out my place. I'm absolutely boiling.
Yeah, it is.
I've been rushing.
Yeah, it's good that you've got a lot of work on down this way.
Yeah, well, I actually got to work on Sherborne Castle. Which
Oh, really? Wow.
Which I guess is a kind of cementing moment.
Mm-hmm.
To be like, you worked on the old childhood castle. Yeah,
And what stuff did you have to do over there?
essentially point out everything that was wrong. It was like, that's going to fall on someone's head. That's going to, oh, look, that fell off. So there's more barriers there than there should be right now. But essentially all the pointing's shot. So we just kind of threw a load of muck at it and was like, it's stable-ish until you do some proper works here.
Mhm.
So yeah, a lot of that's more like conservation work, which is
Throwing muck at it.
throwing muck at it and making sure it doesn't fall on people's heads. Much to my dismay.
We're having randomly was having a chat with a couple of friends on the way home from a night out, and it was actually over on the Abbey, and just as you go to walk in the Abbey, there's a statue just above. where
St.
you-
Anhelm.
Again?
St. Anhelm.
There we
How
go.
do you say?
Or is it?
I always thought it was like Oldham.
Oh, have I been? It might have rearranged itself in my head. It's worth looking up. Yeah.
We were having a conversation as to if it fell,
We're mixed wires tonight.
how unlucky would you have to be walking past that exact spot for it to then kind of
Yeah.
do the work? But you know that's the sort of thing that you never actually want to try and find out either. So
There's a very famous scene in The Omen
On the Omen.
where there's the priest walking past the church and this sort of railing comes off from a lightning strike, and
my mind immediately jumped to Hot Fuzz. So yeah.
yeah, well, that references it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, weirdly, sometimes this happens. You'll be on a really old property and you'll be doing a load of work and you'll be like, oh, well, that's the job pretty much done. And you come in the next day and there'll just be a massive stone that's fallen. And you'll be like, right, we better extend the works, make sure everything's fine. And so, you know, there's an argument for sometimes the building will tell you, like, listen, do some work on me now because I'm going to kill some.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um,
What got you into stonemasonry in the first place?
It was actually my grandpa. He basically, I was like 18 years old, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And he moved into the house, and he was like, "I think you need some sort of craft." I think he could see that I had kind of lost my way at that time, or didn't have a way. And so he just, I don't know if he'd been watching too many Prince Charles TV programs, but he was like, how about we start stonemasonry? And I kind of liked that kind of artisanal imagination version of it I had in my head. So yeah, I went to Weymouth College for 3 years.
Cool.
And then I ended up doing Prince's Foundation and made an obelisk, and did all sorts of stuff. Worked in a quarry, that was rough. Worked in bank shops, that was rough.
Mhm.
Worked in a cathedral, that was alright, boring. And yeah, I've kind of done a bit of everything actually.
Mhm.
Yeah, essentially my grandpa got into it, and then it's 10 years have gone by.
And so did you like initially start out as like an apprentice then, or it kind of off your own back and then?
Yeah, I didn't do so well at being an apprentice. I like.
Oh, there's some stories to unpack there.
Yeah. No, it's more like a lot of students kind of get in with the company and then they apprentice with the company. And I kind of worked at a quarry over the summer, and my first teacher, work teacher, was a guy called Ben, who was great, but he used to just have a fag in his mouth all the time. And he'd have these like 9-inch grinders, and he was like teaching me how to use them. And, I remember one day where he just sliced right through his t-shirt and just looked down, and I looked down, and he was fine, but he just kind of lit another fag and carried on. And I was like, this is a dodgy ass environment. So I didn't try. So I ended up just working in lots of different places to get a feel for all of the different aspects of masonry.
I reckon you can turn up both microphones a little bit.
So, and then I worked with a conservation company for like 5 years. So I apprenticed under them quite a lot. And then with them I started doing rope access. So like repelling off the buildings to do conservation. And I guess I had a few different carving teachers too. But I was always pretty kind of Wild West with it, and would just go to competitions without knowing how to carve and just go for it. Which took me all the way to Egypt at one point, which was kind of cool.
Wow, that's cool.
But
I guess though, with those sort of environments, you turn up, and even like without having any prior knowledge, you're going to be surrounded by everybody that does.
Yeah, and so you just watch them. Although that can be a pretty defeating feeling sometimes. Like when I was in Egypt, I was with like professional sculptors and artists, and I was so wet behind the ears. And like every day, I'd just look at my stone, and I'd be like, I have no idea what to do. And yeah, I remember there's this great woman from Zimbabwe who kind of looked at me at one point and went, she was like, Tom, today you feel awful. Tomorrow, slightly less awful. I was like, thanks. That's really helpful.
That's the pep talk I needed. Thanks. Appreciate that.
So
was that pretty early on then, going to Egypt?
Yeah, it's like just finished college, and I was pretty jammy, and I somehow ended up being like the representative sculptor for the UK for it.
Oh wow!
I think the main guy had obviously dropped out, and they'd filled me in. But yeah, it was definitely being in at the deep end, really young.
Is there such thing as like world sculpting championships and stuff then?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you get carving competitions. There's ones that happen in Europe, and then you get kind of small ones that aren't as competitive, let's say. And then you have, I guess, like sculpture symposiums, which are like symposiums that are set up in different countries to create like large-scale public art. And it's not competitive, but it's competitive to get into it.
Right.
Because there'll be like 20 sculptors or 20 artists, and there'll be like one from each country usually. So it can be fairly competitive in that regard.
Have you done many of those, or any of those? Or?
I've done one.
Cool.
That one in Egypt,
well done.
which was pretty nuts. It ended up being inaugurated by the president of Egypt, which basically meant, and this was the most hilarious thing I've ever been a part of, is we ended up on this huge banquet table in the middle of the desert, because we did everything in the middle of the desert. And the president was there, and all of these, what would you call them? Delegates from different countries, right? And what was meant to happen was, after they like filmed it, and it was a big old ceremony, and Egypt made a big thing about it because it was a push to try and push El-Sisi's career at the time. So, and all of the artists were meant to be on one table, but whoever was organising it botched it. And so all the artists ended up being dotted between all these delegates, in weird places. And I remember being at the banquet table. I was like right in the middle, and my friend from Belarus was next to me, and we had all these delegates who are the most miserable people I've ever met in my life. They're just huge, fat, unhappy men with trophy wives. When the most amazing, gorgeous food could be put before you, they didn't even react. They just had nothing to say. Anyway, they're miserable. And my friend from Belarus is like telling me a story, and you can't not. Everyone is listening, and I'm going to butcher his accent right now. It's just going to sound like a bad German accent. But he was like, yeah, so one day I was coming into my flat, and I was walking up the stairs, and I thought I smelled something weird. And I walk up, and I walk in the door, and there's my flatmate, and he's just frying his shit. He's just frying his own shit. And I just all these delegates just started coughing up, their shrimp or whatever, and it was fucking hilarious. I just thought that was the best story ever to be told at like a stupid.
We've gone past the watershed, haven't we?
Oh, what a story.
So yeah.
That's amazing though, to get invited out and do that though.
It's pretty jammy.
Mm.
It's pretty jammy. I've just applied for another one. I haven't done one for like 6 years. But I've just applied for another one in Baghdad. So
Cool.
see if that.
So do you then have to do the kind of build up to it in the UK, and you get picked from the UK, or is it you go somewhere and you're picked in amongst a whole load of other people that are coming?
I guess what you're meant to do is you're meant to be like an artist with the studio who's got all the materials ready to create like a quick maquette, and then you take photos of that and send it off, and they'll choose from what you send over. But I don't have that, so I just have some old pieces that I'm like, I never quite got that off the ground, so I sent this thing that I turned into a medal that I made out of plaster that was all to do with the Epic of Gilgamesh and Enkidu, and maybe they'll take it, and you just essentially come up with a mock, and then you have to do the real thing much bigger. I hope if I get it, I'm in big trouble, because the stone I'm gonna have to carve is 3 meters long.
Oh wow!
And like 2 meters high. I don't think I can do that, but I thought I'd apply anyway, just for the shits and gigs.
Mm.
Can you practice on a 1 meter one?
I've watched someone practice on a 1.5 meter one. He did something slightly similar. Yeah, I could. It'd be very expensive because it's marble. So.
Well, it's just calcium carbonate. Don't worry about it.
Well, funny enough, James, I made that mistake before when I went to Egypt. They were like, I was like, will it be a limestone? And they're like, yes, limestone. Don't worry. And I went out there, and they just put this huge bit of marble in front of me, and so there I'd been practicing all my carving techniques, like with my chisels. I just used my chisel and it bounced off the stone, and so they're like, oh, don't worry, and they just put a grinder in front of me and was like, use this. And so I had to learn to use a grinder and carve with a grinder and complete the art project in 2 weeks. So
Nothing quite like necessity, is there?
yeah, so I learned that day it's pretty important to understand the material.
And how do you two know each other?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Probably just got chatting one day.
Yeah, probably something like that.
James, I don't know when we met, and I know this was way later, but I always remember this moment as being like a pinnacle. I don't know.
Is this going to be one of those stories where I say something awful to someone?
No.
Oh, that's a nice check.
Yeah, I know.
Do that, do you, James?
No, but you say something. Anyway, but I feel like this is kind of sums up how we always meet. I was working in the shop below when it was House of Lamps.
Yeah.
And it was a really hot day one day, and I just didn't want to be inside, so I just stood out on the street staring at the birds or something. And James, I don't know if you walked out your door or you walked along the street, and you're like, "You're right. What are you thinking about?" I was like, "Oh, I'm thinking about death." And you're like, "Oh, I spent a lot of my 30s thinking about death." I was like, that's a great answer. And then I think you taught me the memento mori, and said some other things about death, but it was just one of those moments where I was like, oh, I'm in Sherborne and I can say that I'm thinking about death, and someone actually has something to say that isn't. I don't know.
Are you okay? Do you need help?
Well, yeah,
Sort of
that
thing, yeah.
or some, you know.
He was obviously fine.
Right.
Well, you turned up for work, haven't you?
True. Yeah, true. I'd chosen my death that day.
Well, I've got the beginnings.
You have?
Cool colour choice.
Well, I'm using this red accent light. This is very vague, and actually I've got to keep it vague, which means spatula time, right from the off.
Oh, we love spatula time.
Spatula time. There should be a theme tune for the spatula time. Yes, it's spatula time.
What people cheating for?
The theme tunes.
No,
the
spatula time, yeah.
And I do occasionally do a small musical performance. Yeah, this is all quite mobile at the moment. Ooh. Okay.
What does the spatula achieve?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Just move stuff around a bit. Not happy with where things are? Move them. Where are you going to move them to? I don't know where to move them to.
Add
So just move them anyway. How do I completely relinquish any control over where they move to? It's spatula time. Okay, so I've got an oil painted sort of surface here. Taking that away. Yeah, you're under there. I haven't quite got. There's too many edges there. I need to move them. No, though. We've got something. Yes, I'm enjoying the vague.
Would you choose to paint something via a colour?
Huh?
Like, have you ever seen someone be like, oh, they're yellow?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the first thing I think of.
Mm.
So when you turned up, you were kind of red. I was already a bit red, so I was thinking of like picking. But you turned up and you were even redder, possibly because you got here in a hurry. But yeah, it's also kind of a red mood at the moment. Compositionally, this is interesting. I'm not worried about getting the back of your head on. I quite like the fact that you're turned away and having a conversation. I'm worried you might have already said everything interesting about you already, so that's the end of that.
Who wants to be interesting? Like that.
No, I'm looking at that. So yeah, the next thing is to start getting I've already kind of got a reference that I can work out of here. So I'm going to make some more of this red. That's going to be nowhere near enough. I need a lot more paint in this. But if I can match it up to...
So it's like palette mixing time.
Yeah. A little bit. Oh, here we go. So I'm just trying to match the colour that's on the image. I don't know if we can bring up the actual image itself as well. Or just go back to the previous one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fun transition, isn't it? So if I hold that there, you can see they're pretty similar. Obviously, it's a little bit lighter there. A bit more red, a bit more brown. Trying to add more yellow. Darken it up again. Okay, now I'm sort of in the vicinity of that colour there. So I can kind of use that as a base. And I can add in other things to it. So I can go different directions from that colour. And there's other things. So I've got these highlights from the other side. I'm going to mix up some of those. and take a bit of white and a bit more of this red over here. It's going to go pink, so I'll put a bit more yellow in it. That's a sort of nice colour to lighten with on this side. And then there's other versions of that. So I'm going to take a bit of that pink, lighten it a bit, and then darken it with a bit of green. So the pink in the green will sort of soften it down. That's still an interesting colour that I think I can get into a few places. Definitely in the neck and on the far side of the face. What else? What else have I got? Yeah, I might put a few dabs of green on first because it's not a defining colour. It's allowed to exist as a kind of abstraction, just sort of sat around. But
What do you mean green
there's
is a
bit there.
defining colour?
It's not a colour that actually exists locally. Watch it on the screen.
I'm not going to wear one.
Yeah. So actually, you can remember this. So turn your head slightly to the right. You're trying to stay still. Stop trying to stay still. Your head naturally leans to the right.
All right.
There you go.
So bossy when it's behind us either.
Okay. So there's there. So these are some sort of drawing bits, but I'm not, because they're not like finished colours, they're active colours. They don't have to be sort of a permanent defining mark. As soon as you put an edge on something, you've sort of said what it is. And it's very hard to disagree or forget that. But as this goes around, there, and here's some. Oh, that's a bit. No, this is interesting.
Right, so the moment you kind of create a boundary, you close off what it can be.
Yeah, and if you've got a very clear edge, your brain can't stop seeing it. So, what I'm doing is I'm using these as placeholders. It'd be very easy when I get to more naturalistic colours to disagree with where this is by a small amount without being distracted by it as a sort of a defined edge that already exists. Same thing here. And the pink can play along with this, so I can put pink against this and it will play quite nicely, so I can put a bit in there. Okay. Oh, just a tiny bit there. And it's going to hint at the cool light that's sort of coming off here, this bit on the inside bit here. That's going to move down. That needs to change.
So you were sat for a portrait before?
Once with James,
Yeah, it's that.
many
Well,
moons ago. Don't think I've ever sat for another one.
it wasn't really official, you just happened to be
I
there.
just happened to be in the room.
Yeah, it does happen. Like
Yeah, it was a kind of quick thing. It was nice.
okay. Ooh. I need another companion to this red. I don't know if I should work my way up to that red. I think I probably should. Just over there.
Well, I'm chuffed you using my two favourite colours, red and green.
Never be seen, what they say. Except for all of Christmas.
That's, yeah, alchemical.
I'm still finding my way into, if I darken that, this here. Where else does that go? Oh, that's interesting. It's too soon for that.
Right, so you have to make sure you don't butcher your own chance for creativity while you're painting by putting defined things in too early.
Yeah, I'm making decisions that some of them will stick, some of them I'll change as I go along. Why put that there like that? Some of it's a sort of just finding out what's there in terms of measurements and stuff.
How did you get embroiled in this?
I own and run bean shop, and James started coming in, a couple of mutual friends, and yeah, it just sort of when I came up, I did a sort of, I was sitting for him, and just kind of looked kind of cool being the back end stuff, being on the computer and asking questions, and yeah, but just carried on doing it. So
Slowly turning into a podcast. Isn't it?
it's slowly, but yeah, it's something different. It's something good fun to do of like Monday night, and yeah, I find it fascinating how in 2 hours an entire painting can be done. And not being an artist myself, I'm kind of quite interested by the method, the reason behind it. So I ask lots of questions over the course of weeks, which I get berated for quite often.
Well, there's no such thing as a stupid question, only stupid people.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of stupid questions, you don't. I mean, we know each other, so you're not painting me from memory. Are you painting what you see, or are you painting some sort of imaginal version of me that like captures a certain essence?
Oh, well, there's the question. You see, what's the difference? What's the difference between what I see and what I imagine I see? They're the same thing.
Yeah, except one I think you can be more aware of, and the other one you can be forgetting of. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a thing to keep active about, right? If you're constantly questioning, then it's alive.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Yeah. And this is me asking the universe what you look like, and the universe telling me, and then my own brain lying to me, and me going, damn it, brain, you're lying to me again, and trying to fix it, and then going, well, that's not right.
Cool.
What's the truth of it? And then you try things out. Sometimes you discover something, and sometimes...
Sure, so your brain wants to make like a dead, inert version of the person you see in front of you, like a captured image, whereas the real me is this alive thing that you're trying to stay awake to.
I could make a better photograph of you. Okay, so I'm already finding some things that are off. I need a redder version of that shadow, which I'm going to put here. So some of it's just simple drawing, measuring. Some of it is yeah, so the thing that makes the difference, and this is I think the truth of how we see generally, is our eyes pick up tons of stuff, but our brain has to select what's important and extract that from it. So a part of looking is genuinely looking. If I gave you the task of saying, look at that irrelevant thing over there and tell me if it's higher than it is wide, you could answer that question. But would you bother to? generally.
Yeah, you need your interest.
It would have to be interesting. And so then you've got the question of what's interesting and why. And then you're into this sort of other realm. Your head's tipped back again. That's okay. No, you don't have to do anything. I'm observing that to myself.
Right, and so what's interesting is more what's invisible about someone. Not usually visible, let's say, because I'm guessing you have to capture the...
Well, it's a selection process. They always say a portrait is partly a portrait of the sitter and partly a portrait of the artist, because they're the ones who have to make the choice.
Is that because you can only see in someone what you know in yourself, or what you're able to see in yourself?
No, it's that I'm the one putting the paint on the surface.
Right.
And whatever's going on in my head is going to have more input into that. But yeah, it's always shooting for the profound. It's a good thing.
From the hip.
Yeah. Okay. Right, so there's interesting things about the way your face works as well. There's sort of patterns that emerge that come from how someone uses their face.
I'm about to shoot from the hip and say something silly and profound again.
What's that?
Does that mean that if someone like drastically inhabited like a different part of their psyche, what you're painting would completely change? For example, if you're painting an actor and then they suddenly change characters and who they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is the other thing, and this is the thing I find fascinating about portraits. What I love about portraits is that it's not a snapshot. You know, if someone could stay in character for 3 seconds, you could get a photo of them in character, but you wouldn't be able to get a painting because 3 seconds isn't long. So there has to be this sort of a real foundation to the personality that's on display, either as an artifice or as a genuine thing. So a good actor might be able to stay in the character. You know, I'm sure I could paint Daniel Day-Lewis in character. If I asked someone who wasn't an actor to do it, I'd probably get a quick sketch. I think a lot of the time modelling is more acting than it is anything else. A bit of red there. Okay, so I've been also going to go into some. I've got that green over there. I'll revisit that later. And get some just a brush mix. Get some yellow over on that. Put a little bit of that red. It's actually still very dark. I need a dark version of that. There we are. Yeah, it's taking me into here. See the dark around that bit of light I put in.
Josie's on board.
Hey.
It's a very exciting beginning.
Nice to see you, Josie.
She asked, are the blues sort of half tones?
So the blues are little sort of markers of energetic, what do you call it? Inconsistencies in the lighting, so they feel like they've been important. They won't quite survive to the end, but once other things get as light as them, it will change stuff. So I've got these greens now.
We also had somebody on Twitch called Nasty Queen 12.
Oh,
Nice, saying hello.
people do have some good names.
They do.
They're far less imaginative on YouTube. Okay, well, hello, welcome. Okay, so these greens I'm putting on now are already being forgiving to the greens I put on first. Here, That's going to get a lot redder. Maybe a little bit there even. So this is quite a different approach for me. Go into that light and borrow a bit of that pink. Put this in here.
So what's the project on the go at the moment then?
Well, I'm just about to go back to London next week to do my second year of stone carving as a BA. Kind of did education the wrong way around and did a master's. Now I'm doing a BA. So it's not really a project, but if the thing from Baghdad pulls off, it will be a huge, 3-meter mural of Gilgamesh and Enkidu. And it's kind of a commentary on Cain and Abel and the story of warring siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of done it in a way that suggests like the schism between East and West that happened between the Christian and Islamic sides of the Abrahamic Church. And basically the idea that like that schism needs to kind of heal. Otherwise, no good. So yeah, that would be the big project. But otherwise, just more learning to draw and carve and clay model this year and some lettering.
So you a bit of an artist before you went into doing all of this then?
In what regards?
Can you paint? Can you draw? Can you? Could you do it prior to sort of putting it in a block of stone?
I used to draw as a kid, but then I stopped. And I didn't really do anything artistic ever until I started doing stone carving, I guess. But so yeah, I've been like learning to draw again, or learning to draw and do clay, and yeah, it's quite cool. But I guess I have artistic bones in my body.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do what you're trying to do. So yeah, that's cool.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I also think that the more you try and explore that side of you, the worse it gets. The more artistic you want to become. Maybe because you don't usually give yourself the chance. So the moment you prove you can do one thing, you start thinking you can do other things or try them. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of been the project, or that it will be the project maybe.
So is that the kind of design and depiction of different elements? Is that the route that you kind of want to go down, or is that just a route that you're going down at the moment because you're finding it, you're enjoying it?
The different elements thing, what like?
Kind of carving a picture into a piece of stone.
I like,
because people will sort of like, you say stonemason, it's like, okay, you build stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy doing a PhD on this at the moment, and so I'm really interested in this idea that, I mean, like, stone carving's cool and all, but I've been staring at buildings now for like ages and being like, what the hell is it trying to say?
Okay.
Like, in terms of like the proportion of a column, or what the language of architecture is trying to convey. And then I was like, is there any meaning in any of that anyway? And then I was thinking about statues, and then I've not read enough on this yet, but there's this old idea, right, that you can get a deity to inhabit either a temple or a piece of stone, or a mummy or a body or whatever, so that you can bring a deity or form out of whatever you want to call it into a thing, which is why I used to have some seriously important carvings in Egypt where they really did believe it was the deity, just like you had in, what's the name of the mountain in Greece? Where's Olympus, thank you. And also the one that had Hera in, not Hera, it's the name of the famous Greek city and civilization that's named after one of the female gods. the Athenians, Athena,
Oh, right.
right? Yeah. And so you had these like amazing statues made out of I don't know, this funny material that's like wood, and it would be like painted gold, and it would have this other material that I can't remember the name of. But they truly believed that the deity had inhabited it because of the rituals that they did behind it. And so you would experience some sort of like theophany while you're in front of these statues. And so I've been thinking about the idea of like, can you make carvings that are not just stone? Like maybe they actually like bring something forth in them. There's something like numinous about them. Because I don't know, I was staring at this like
That's a good one.
it's a good one. I love that word. I don't know. I was staring at this head once in like a museum, and there was all these other stone carved stuff, and they all looked fine, and they were all very nice. And then I was staring at this one head, and I was like, this head has something. This is not just a stone carving. This is a palpable presence in a room. Don't know what it was. That stone head had something about it. I couldn't stop staring at it. And I'm sure if I'd taken mushrooms, it would have been talking to me. It needs moving its features. So I don't know. I'm interested in the idea of like story as a format of like bringing life into something. So I usually try and carve things, or the designs I'll come up will have something to do with myth or story or some sort of access into the imagination. Maybe a bit along the lines of what William Blake was doing, because I think that might bring forth something. Yeah. Those are my thoughts.
That's cool. But yeah, it's amazing to take something which, like you say, is just essentially a block of stone, but then the carver is putting something into it.
Mm.
The more that they work on it, and the more they think about it, more go into it.
Yeah, if it's the carver though. I've had some weird experiences sometimes where I've gone over to a stone to like carve it when you haven't quite formulated your idea. It's a bit like you'll go over to the stone and they'll say, fuck off. It doesn't want to be like carved that day. And I've put my tools down before and like not done it. And then it ended up becoming something else completely different because I came back with a completely different mindset that day. I don't know. I think stones, I know it sounds weird, but I think stones also want to become something. And they've had the patience of 1,000,000 years to wait. And so your silly 30 years on this planet means nothing about what they want to become compared to what you want them to become. So, and you'll find
So you're finding there's like a constant battle between like you and the stone. Sort of, are you in an agreement? I guess because
battle would be a good choice of word, because sometimes that does use artillery. Like you'll be hitting it and it'll just like snap something in your eye, and it will be the moment you've been saying to yourself, I should stop now. And the moment you don't stop, it just punishes you for trying to carve it when you're knackered.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's just going on in my head, but it feels like a true conversation or battle, or however nice the stone is or not.
I don't think it matters if it's in your head or not. That's not really the point, is it?
Mm. Yeah, I've stopped caring about whether things are in my head or real.
Everything's in your head, if you look at it that way.
Everything's in my head if I look at it that way.
I mean, the only thing you've got is your senses in you. You know, if you experience something, then that sort of, you know, if you're having a conversation with the stone, you're having a conversation with the stone. It doesn't matter if by someone else's measure that isn't a conversation.
Mm.
If your experience is that there's a two-way thing going on.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
But that's what's happening to you, isn't it?
And I guess any sort of two-way conversation is still like a singular experience.
Mm.
I'm experiencing talking to you,
Mhm.
but maybe there's not a two-way. I don't know.
I'm having some struggles here, so at some point I'll probably get you to hold your head still. Yeah, nothing I'm going to do talking. There's a head shape though. And there is this thing, you do turn your head when you're talking.
Yeah, I can feel it because it's not.
Yeah, and you look up.
Yeah,
Because you're thinking. And it's very interesting, so, yeah. So if I get you to hold still, I'll just pin this down and get this to behave itself.
I'll stop talking for a minute as well.
And get a bit more conventional here. I didn't do this in the way I normally paint. I did a few little changes.
And what are they?
I didn't just do. I did a few big shapes at the beginning, but then I didn't triangulate. I just set about trying to find out what was where. So yeah, it's just been sort of dabbing at the surface and letting things move around a little bit as they go.
Yeah, you said for a while as well you were living out of the suitcase. Whereabouts did you head?
Well, it's more like my work with Vitruvius, the conservation company, just meant that there'd always be different digs every week or every few weeks. So, I mean, I might be back at the weekends to stay at my parents' or when I was living in Totnes, but essentially it's just, yeah,
Wherever they sent you.
wherever they sent me. And that stretched from London to Cornwall and up to Wales.
Cool.
But worked on some really cool places. I worked on most of the big houses around here and started to work on quite a few of the castles and some of the churches.
Is there like a hierarchical way, sort of, things that you work on then? So you start off on the manor houses, and then if somebody sees your work, likes what you do, you then progress up.
I think there's more work on manor houses. I don't know if there's like a hierarchy to it, but I would say that there's it's harder to get in with the diocesan churches because they'll want to stay with companies that they know, because I guess the more historically important a building is, the rarer it is that you'll get a job on it. So, for example, Vitruvius predominantly do most of the work on Salisbury Cathedral, so that's fun. And so in that regard, yeah, I guess they, as a company, they've worked themselves up to they do, and then you get into working for Historic England and the National Trust, and so I guess if you have a finger, whatever appendage you have in the National Trust, Historic England, and the diocese, then you're pretty set. But yeah, I guess I don't know. To me, castles and cathedrals feel pretty up there.
Well, it's phenomenal, isn't it? The amount of people that would have worked on that, so, and then you're becoming a part of that history as well. That's being involved with it.
It's quite fun, especially when you're really, really high up in a cathedral, and you'll be like, they stopped caring when they got this high. On some cathedrals, some ones they care all the way up to the top, and you're like, wow, you really cut in that rib for no one to ever see. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. One of the first jobs I did on the ropes actually with Vitruvius was working on the west front of Salisbury Cathedral, which was pretty crazy. I ended up doing like a nose job for some saint. And yeah, it's quite fun because when we do the repair works out of mortar, you have to cover them in lime, use lime, but you have to cover the repairs in gaffer tape. So we had all these saints covered in gaffer tape in like weird places. I know, it just looked like some sort of, I don't know, political statement on the west front wall, with like, you know, gaffer tape over the mouth and eyes and stuff like that.
Okay.
So where do your interests lie? Where does the artistic sides of you come out, or the, I don't know, what do you care about?
Massively into coffee, obviously.
That's obvious.
Didn't want to ask the obvious question.
Yeah, fair enough. No, people, I think, is what interests me.
Really?
Yeah. I like finding out about people. It's a great platform to be able to do it from, in a very short space of time as well. So it can be 30 seconds, you've got somebody in front of you. And to develop a rapport, small friendship, find out something about somebody in that short space of time, and then flip you on to the next one, you know, especially if there's a queue or anything along those lines. And it's just people fascinate me because we're all made up of the same stuff, but we're completely different, and that's it intrigues me. It's cool.
How often do you find that, like, do you have it often that if someone comes in, you'll have an intuition about whether you're going to like, or an instinct about whether you're going to like really get on with them or not, and there's then other people where you have to really like fight for there to be some sort of rapport, and then there's people that you naturally hate. Where you can talk to them.
Naturally hate is strong.
Yes, it is.
You do get that kind of intuition when people walk through the door. The way somebody carries themselves, the way they walk up to the counter. Is there eye contact? Is there not? Do they listen to you? Do they look at you whilst they're talking to you? All these sort of things, they kind of add up. It's sort of reading body language is a big thing that I like to think I'm sort of quite good at. Like knowing what sort of a mood somebody is in when they're in front of you, but to say whether you're gonna like, dislike, or something, it's a really, again, I guess it's sort of what we've been talking about this evening. It's dependent on the mood that you're in as well. Like if you're not in the best of moods and somebody comes in a massively hyperactive way, you're not going to be as drawn to them as if you're in a massively hyperactive mood and then they come in and it's like it's amplified. So that's a kind of dependent factor as well. But we're very lucky in that we have a huge amount of regular repeat customers, and so you actually get to know the body language of people pretty quickly when they're in sort of every day, and you can pick up on, okay, they're not feeling it today. And so you gauge and adjust your conversation accordingly. Or you can match somebody else's energy, or you can try and pick someone up a little bit, because a big goal of what we do is somebody leaves happier than when they walked in. If you can achieve that, it's pretty cool, even if it's a tiny bit. But yeah. I'm kind of doing stuff like this. I've got no ideas about art. It's something that I've never been involved with. Never even thought to sort of look more into it. And yeah, I find it kind of fascinating asking James loads of really annoying, boring questions that he mocks me for and then answers them. Standard. But yeah, it's
That probably keeps it fresh.
It's just something different. I've been doing what I've been doing for 13, 14 years, and it's just nice to kind of an evening break out, do something completely different. And it does go kind of hand in hand, because then we have them hanging up in the shop. So we've got 4 paintings. There were 4 that were done over the last consecutive weeks. Another one's done. One goes off the end. They all move down one, and it's kind of this revolving.
Never ending.
Yeah.
It's not revolving. It's like a conveyor belt.
Conveyor belt, yeah.
It's the first time I've rudely corrected you this evening, isn't it?
No.
Is it not? I thought I'd been
First time that you've noticed it as when you've tried.
You've been taking your time to show up here, metaphorically and literally.
Yeah. I'm warming up. Yeah, that's so true.
Right, I'll just stand in the corner here. Deborah Clark has just written in.
Oh, Deborah.
Have a look at Anjana Hakauta. Anjana is a geologist writing from a book about geology of rocks and humans' sacred relationship with them. So
Cool. I
there you
will write that link down.
I will on James's Instagram, and as we were messaging earlier, so I'll just ping it across to you.
Oh yeah. Well, Deborah, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, super ceramicist, but also I've never known anybody as capable of spawning a new idea in any given situation. It's always got some spark flying up in the background, and it comes out just when you need it. She's involved with the art community stuff and things like that, just like me with the so we met
over to you.
both as coordinators of Dorset Art Leagues. Right, I've got your eyes looking one way and your mouth is doing another. So I've got to bring your chin up. Can I tilt you to here? Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to have to move your eyes back. It means you're going to look a bit more bored, but there you go.
Just a scintillating conversation's doing it.
So you may now return.
Cool.
Oh, do I move the whole mouth? What is are the eyes better than the mouth? I think they are. And the ear, hang on. No, so the ear would have to be all the way down there. No, that's how your head was. Back a little bit.
What?
That's closer. That's off. Well, I'm having a bit of a struggle with that. It's been it's been a difficult start. Yeah, so I'm sure that's well worth paying attention to.
What, the fact it's been a difficult start?
No, the book Deborah recommended.
Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. Add on to my list of books on stone that I really should be reading.
That mouse completely across now. I mean, I could tip the canvas like that. I think a rotating canvas would be quite useful. Because to begin with, I am doing a certain amount of lining things up. And that. There. A bit of that. What's that? Ah, God, I'm losing it now. I think it might be time for a break.
Time for a break. Yeah.
Shortly.
It's gone 8:30, but obviously we started a wee bit late, so.
Red.
Are there cups of tea and cookies provided?
If that's what you'd like, you can. Yeah.
And that's Santa Claus style.
Yeah. Yes, Santa Claus back like that.
This is looking very serious. I'm trying to do everything too quickly.
Let's stop and have a break then.
Yeah, so I'm
Sitting down.
Right.
Cool.
Back to scratch and start again.
That's 15. Right, we're going to go for a 5-10 minute break, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Cool, we'll catch you in a bit. Here we go.
There we are.
Back
Got it.
again. The sound's still working. Next desk on. Yeah, perfect.
Never figure out which way around these are. They're all right.
So what's next on the canvas then, James?
Next, I'm going to move a load of stuff. I'm not happy at all with the mouth.
Why?
Tom's a bit more animated than I've made him appear, and that's kind of what I want the painting to describe. There's some animated paintwork going on in it, but the drawing, if you like, the sort of arrangement of features is having a very, very calm moment now. But once he's chatting, things change. So I'm going to have a little scrape.
We're getting rid of some, are we?
With any of that. Just move that around. Maybe shift that up a bit. Maybe we're not quite sure where that goes. Maybe it doesn't matter. Yeah. Bit of spatula. Oh, it's back up. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some lines. I'm going to go in with some warm darks, a bit of alizarin, a bit of the black eye mixed. And I'm going to get you to stay still for a moment, Tom, while you're chatting. So your head tips to the right. Okay, back again a bit. I think when you're chatting, your head tips. So if I'm going to
you're gonna get me
if
chatting.
I'm going to get you talking, or with your face animated, I can't have it this way up. So I either have to rearrange everything. Or I think I'm going to have to rearrange everything. Where am I?
So the problem is I'm more head back and chatty when I'm when I'm chatting. Right.
It's a tricky one. So I'm going to get around it by being a bit vague. I'm going to move that brow up a little bit. I'm going to tip this forward, move that. See again, I'm sort of a bit too attached to the marks I've already made. That's going to go there. There will be an eye up here. This. Move his head again.
Sorry,
it's not-
stay still.
I would say there is there's a thing I like people to be animated. I like them to be moving around. But it's a difficult way of doing things. It'd be much simpler to just get them to sort of stay still. But yeah, I mean, I can't do anything to this while you're like that. At this point, it's sort of gone too far.
Because this is my chatting position right now.
No, it's that your head is in a completely different place to how it is on the canvas. So I can't really make any observations from you.
Right,
Put them here and have them make sense. It doesn't have to be exact. As you move around, that's something that I can kind of find things, fix them as they go. An interesting little bit of dark there. But yeah, so where it is now. So either I do you very serious.
You're about to touch on the problem of my life. Whether to be super serious or jovial.
Wow. As I move things around. So what was it? What was it you were talking about before?
Which bit?
Help me out, man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should carry on.
You know me, just throw me a stick and I'll start talking about it.
I quite enjoy the moment of peace. It's quite that's good. Okay, already looking a bit more animated. So shift. Yeah, not enough paint now.
Do you still get people who come into the coffee shop who completely subvert your expectations? Like, I'm guessing after a while you feel you can get a read on most people, but do you still get people who come in and you're like,
Yeah.
There are some odd people in the world, though, aren't there?
that's what I love.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
I think as well with like being in a coffee shop where it's pretty accessible to everybody, so you do get every walk of life that comes through. You're not like in a Ferrari showroom where only the rich are going to walk through the door.
I don't know, your coffee shop.
Oh, shut up.
I haven't been in there that much.
But no, but I guess it's one of those things which is, it is pretty affordable. Right? I'll caveat that for most people, and so yeah, you're getting people that will scrape together the amount it takes because it's just lying in their car, and then you get others that are coming through, and we've developed quite a cool community with it. Even James admits to that at times when he's feeling a break.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, I'll concede.
and it's nice as you get so many different backgrounds that there's one thing in common with them all, and that's that they're in the shop, they want to drink a coffee. But the conversations and the just the vibe that you can get from being in there, it's cool. I'm quite proud to have been able to be in a place where that is a part of Journal now. So we try and we take care in a lot of what we do. So that when somebody walks up, the first thing that they don't get is what you want. It's a how are you? And for some people, it really puts them on the back foot because I'm in here for a coffee actually. So but it's developed this whole different atmosphere that you get in our places to you would in some of the bigger chains or even some of the smaller independents that are in town, because there's that element of care that goes in behind it, which it's a lot of people ask, is it fake? It's like, no, it's not fake, it's genuine. Do care about everybody that comes through the door. We do want to create a really nice space, because if you create a nice space with somebody in front of you, then the entire space is going to be nice, and that's why you get this sort of like little pocket of community that kicks off.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Space definitely dictates who the people who end up kind of coming in more and more. It has a vibe.
Yeah, and it's only little things as well. Like remembering somebody's drink, so you can almost have it made before they actually get to the counter, and that's just one of those
Yeah, that's cool.
lovely feelings that it's like, oh, okay, they remembered. They actually saw me. They remembered me.
Yeah, I was in a coffee shop the other day, and I was working with this guy who's just a hilarious dude. I'm working with him tomorrow. I can't wait. And it was like a Reeves in, I can't remember the name of the place. It has that funny Romanesque church on the way to Salisbury. Anyway, and there was a dude in there who was kind of like on autopilot, and he was very jovial and very friendly, but it was all autopilot. And Ed is a particularly, he's just got great rough edges, and the guy's like, "Have a nice day." He's like, "Fucking tell me, have a nice day." And that's just like, it's such a great answer to have a nice day. And yeah, I concur. I concur when people aren't genuine. It stinks.
So what are you doing with them tomorrow then?
We have a greenhouse at Barrington Court that we've taken all the glass out of, but because we've taken all the glass out of, it's now starting to sway in the wind.
Oh.
And it's a real shame because it's a really nice greenhouse. It's probably done in like the 30s and it has lots of like iron and brass work in, and it's, had it have been like looked after, it would have been really nice, but it's not. So we're just going to like put some wood on it to stabilize it, to stop it from swaying, and that'll be that. It'll be condemned pretty much. So yeah, we're just putting some wood on an old greenhouse.
That must be a real kind of sort of disappointment to you to see something which is so good and it's just not been looked after to the point where it's swaying in the wind, and knowing that actually, because it's Barrington Court is being National Trust, they're probably not going to have the funds to be able to get it right.
Well, Ed's really good at letting them know that.
Okay.
He'll be like, yeah, it's such a shame if someone had just what's the name of them? The stuff between window and wood. If someone had just redone that, we wouldn't have to condemn it. And I don't know, yeah, he's good at getting that point across of like, you're lazy bastards and you should have done something about this 40 years ago instead of having tea in here all the time, watching it slowly dilapidate. So yeah, it's a bit annoying. Especially when there's good material, like when it's made of like teak and stuff like that. Yeah.
What can you do,
Yeah, it's hard to not become, whatever the word is, like not caring about buildings, because you're like, oh, it's going to ruin all the time. But if you have that attitude, you don't try and do a good job. So, but yeah, you see a lot of stuff go to rack and ruin.
Everything bad.
Oh, that's better. Again, because of the way I've started this, I need you to be animated now, Tom. So you just continue to have a nice time, whether you like it or not.
No. Just give me a really long stick with a feather.
Just keep tickling.
Okay.
Have you read the work of Robert Moore, by the way, James?
No, I don't. No, I don't know his stuff. I mean, I know of it, but
I think you'd like it.
what do you think I'd like about it?
He just does a really good job of synthesizing Freud, Jung, and Adler's way of looking at psychology to the point where like they all become a good conversation to each other. And it's just really good if you're trying to understand Jung. It's It's yeah.
Or pronounce it even.
Hmm?
Nothing.
Jung.
That's it.
Cougar Jung.
Oh, this is so close. Right on the edge with this. There's a bit of memory going on. No, that's a bit above it. Again, just got a completely different picture now. As soon as he stops talking, it's just a complete change. No, if Franz House could do it, I should be able to do it.
Who's Fran's house?
Franz House was a Dutch painter who was an expert in painting people as animated, living people rather than static. The Laughing Cavalier is probably his most well-known work. No, it's
I'm so uncultured.
Yeah. Well, in which case that's.
But would they actually? He would actually see them animated and then get them to say.
Well, no, yeah. So he painted people laughing and, living their lives, looking jovial and having a nice time.
Sounds awful. Can't you paint someone? Can't you paint a schism in someone though?
What do you mean by that?
Like if someone has, because people are like dead serious at times and they're really jovial, can you not try and capture? Is that possible to capture?
Well, in a sense, but there needs to be this kind of commonality of the face that those things sit on. Those expressions, there can be lots of fleeting expressions that can occupy a person's face in periods of time, mostly in the mouth and the eyebrows. That's the secret to expression. Losing a likeness in the process, though, is not good at all.
Is that because they're lined, the mouth and the eyebrows?
Actually, it's more the skin around them. So the mouth has lots of micro expressions, and the micro expressions we read them even though we don't know we're reading them. If you're talking to someone and you get a sense that there's something about them which is sort of I don't know. If you sense they're upset or there's something they're not saying or something like that, it's because you're unconsciously reading their mouth movements. It's a dead giveaway every time. We're kind of so if you look at a mentalist like Darren Brown, he can get people to think of something and tell them what they're thinking. But what he does is he sort of suggests the different things. I'm sure he's doing a load of clever things all at once, but he'll suggest the things that they might be thinking, or say, I'll tell you which one of these is your card, and he'll read them out. And it's the mouth that will give it away.
There's tiny expressions.
And they're concentrating on keep my eyes still.
Sure.
And then there's a part of their brain going yes or no, and that's connected to their mouth, whether they like it or not. And
that's a fascinating talk a while ago, and it was a guy that works for, it has his own company now, but he basically he's a cold reader of people, and is works for the CIA, the FBI, just to kind of get information out of people. And he has certain questions that he asks, which elicit responses that he never listens to the answer, he watches. And it is little, mouth movements, eye movements. Do the nostrils flare up? Do the muscles in the neck just sort of slightly palpate as soon as he said something, which is obviously of significance? Then there's the questions that he asks, which are then based on the wording that you use in the way that you answer it, and it's so interesting. He's been involved with lots of kind of negotiations and talking with terrorists and things along those lines, and to find out what they actually want, because a lot of the times what they actually want isn't what they're asking for. So he gets brought in to have these conversations with them. It's just he did a couple of talks for business owners in the way to sit in a board meeting or and figure out who's actually the
top dog.
Yeah, who's the top dog in the room, because 9 out of 10 times the person sitting in front of you asking the questions isn't that person. So he'd ask a question, see where people's eyes flick to, even if it's just a tiny micro movement, and he's like, yeah, okay, it's that person that you need to start speaking with. Fascinating chat though.
You're right. It's very like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
I know that it's called what's it called
Cold reading.
That's great. I guess that's
It's
like a
what
reptile.
mediums. It's what mediums do.
Mediums do. Right.
Yeah.
Sure. It's like I've got a skateboard. Anyone react to that?
Yeah, exactly. But there is still. It's interesting because it's very easy to sort of discount it and say, "Oh, that's not a real thing. It's just cold reading." But then, what's cold reading? Cold reading's a real thing. You could say, "Oh, that's not medicine working. It's the placebo effect," but it's still a thing.
It's still
placebo
working,
effect's
yeah.
a thing. And so, rather than sort of discount it, it's interesting to go, "Well, what is happening? What is working here?" And I find that quite interesting. Oh goodness, it looks nothing like it. It's just awful. I'm gonna have to wipe it.
I feel like you've been running away from that inevitability for a while.
Well, let's put in some of the highlights, bits and pieces. So I can start building the lights in places. See if that does something to help.
I was trying to remember the guy's name. So there was a Dr. Ekman was the kind of forefounder or the front runner for cold reading.
And why is it called cold reading?
Because you're looking at them cold. You've not had a conversation with them before, so it's you're basing assumptions off the individual from nothing other than actually reading them cold. He's done a couple of books. Just for the life of me, couldn't remember his name of them. Which are really, super interesting. Emma's joined us.
Hi, Emma.
Good evening.
Okay, I want you to remember how you're sitting, and I want you to stay there. Because all this moving around isn't working for me at all. Let's see if I can put something out the bag now.
Emma's just said, enjoying a portrait today, surprised at how much it looks like Tom when he's talking, but changes when he stops.
Right. It does. It does change when you stop.
So basically, wherever this portrait goes, you need to follow it and talk whilst you're standing still.
Just had the same thought.
Yeah.
Be very chatty in your coffee shop.
Okay, so now, no, sit still. This is actually going to go in here.
That horrible point as well, isn't there? Somebody says, "Don't move." All you want to do is move.
How do I like that movie?
Ah, if I blur my vision, there's a bit of me there. Little bit of me. No, that eye's not right.
What do you mean, like a little bit of me?
I mean, I did approach this in a way that I could be, what's the word? Vague. I suppose that's, guess that's the word. No, it needs to be pinker. I can't quite pick which brush I'm using at any one time either. That doesn't seem to be playing ball. Oh dear. Okay, we just slow down, relax a bit, stop fighting it.
Do you need another couple of minute break or?
No, I wouldn't be much better at painting than that, actually. Right, miserable Tom it is. That's what we're doing. Don't smile. Did not give you permission to smile.
So Emma just asked, how do you think James's art has an impact on the atmosphere in Bean Shop?
Is it bringing
Also-
everyone down?
How is Tom feeling about being up on the wall?
How do I feel about being up in the wall? Oh, I haven't given it any thought.
Good thing too. Horrifying, really, when you think about it.
I have been painted before. Sorry, that just reminded me that someone else owns a picture of me somewhere. There's some weird artist in Sherborne at one point called Andre. He got the painting of me.
Oh.
Yes. The less said about that, the better.
No, I think it's been something even more.
No, because then I'll stop being serious again. The only thing I can say to that really is like, I like the idea of when you see, like when I saw that painting that James did last time, it really captured me when I was in like melancholy. And although it was really unfinished, it just so, I don't know, captured that funny space within my soul I was in at that point, which was this kind of, it was deep in depression and the lostness of being whatever, young. And I like the idea that if you come across a painting of you again, you can stare at the shape of your soul at that time and be like, right, that's where I was on my kind of, I don't know, that's the shape I was in at that point in the alchemical process. That's cool. And it can reveal more to you when you look at it in retrospect, I think, because you can only know things by looking back at them.
Yep.
And so there's a rawness I'll never be able to understand from this current painting. And so maybe in that regard too, it would be kind of fascinating to stare at. I guess that's the whole idea of the picture of Dorian Gray, isn't it? But, but yeah, I like that idea.
It'd be quite interesting as well to put them side by side.
Well, yeah, I know James is bugging me out with the whole kind of serious and jovial side. I was thinking that maybe I'd move, I don't know. I know that that's not a resolution in myself, so it's kind of funny that that's what's coming out.
Right. That makes me feel a lot better, really. I mean, there's no such thing as a sort of failed painting, really. And maybe I'm failing to hear what it's trying to tell me. Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, I try and just think about simple things and let that other stuff come through on its own.
Well, I guess like a question to ask if you'd be open to answer it is like, well, then at the moment, how are you like in your headspace? Where are you at?
Well, it's interesting. James said the word earlier. I know you're speaking to yourself. You're saying like, "Oh, don't fight it. Just relax and whatever." I was like, "Oh, okay." So there's a real part of me that's at war in myself right now about the experience of being painted, because perhaps I'm yet to not completely, but like to a good enough degree, come to a sense of resolution in myself of a side that's kind of really serious and really doesn't care what anyone has to say, and another side that's really in love with people and super jovial and loves all that malarkey and the fun and the stuff that comes between us. And I just noticed that I was thinking of like the idea that the more that there's a war going on within myself, the more that perhaps, I don't know, I was wondering if James picks up on that friction, whether conscious or not, and you can't paint because there's an unsettledness in me, so there will be an unsettledness on the painting.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like it's your fault.
It wouldn't be yours.
Finally, you've been able to say the thing we've been wanting to. Silence is more than anything else. But I'm also okay with that war in myself. That's another thing.
That's a really cool position to be in.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that because it means you discover more about yourself, whereas usually you don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're one person or the other. But that would maybe be a bit too binary.
But I guess as well there's like an acceptance. If you've kind of chosen one, it's like, well, this is my life now, and well, look, this is where I am now, and not willing to grab onto something else and challenge yourself.
Yeah, because I think you don't want to find out parts of yourself because they're confronting to the other part of you.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually, oh god, that's all coming out. But I've been obsessed with wolves for like the last year. They've been playing on my psyche in every regard and in every silly, inexplainable way. To the point where I did my last carving was a half human, half wolf head, and yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting to grapple with something that you have no sense of familiarity with, like an animal that you never thought you'd care about, and then trying to work out what aspects of this thing, why is it like pressing on your psyche like a cancer? Because there's an aspect of you that somewhere is in conversation with that, and the easiest thing your subconscious has come out with is a wolf in order to like talk about that. So I don't know, in that regard, it's like it's if you're open to it, it's a very interesting conversation to be like, why the fuck are wolves in my life and why do I care? Or why should I care?
It's interesting. And how did the carving come out?
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. It was a wolf and a human head. So who was the human head?
Yeah, don't know. Just kind of like this crazy old man.
a head.
Head. Well, it was like we had a project to do a Romanesque arch, and we each had to do a piece of the Romanesque arch, and you had to do some sort of like traditional gargoyle or something like that. And I don't really. I like, if I get given a project, I always want to do something slightly, tweak it a bit. And yeah, I just wanted to do like a Romanesque style head with more traditional Romanesque features, but then try and do a wolf on the other side, because most people were doing animals. And yeah, I mean, I just liked the idea of the therianthrope, or that like that thing that appeared a lot in medieval and later bestiaries and stuff. This idea of the half morphing man between man and beast.
Mm-hmm.
There's whole corpuses of literature on that, but I don't know if I answered your question, Sean.
Yeah, no, that's good. What came out is answering the question, so yeah, perfect.
About that gets interesting.
What?
That's the sort of thing we usually end up talking about. Isn't it? That, these things that you kind of, you've always got a thing.
What, me?
You've always got a thing you're in the middle of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a criticism at all. Or anything. It's not meant as any kind of, it's just it's an interesting thing. It's one of the things I find interesting about you, is that you kind of, you immerse yourself in it. This thing turns up. It might be leading somewhere, it might not, but there's somewhere to go with it.
Yeah, I heard a quote by, I can't remember, she's a famous black woman, she's really amazing speaker.
Maya Angelou?
Huh?
Maya Angelou?
Maybe, yeah, that's exactly who it is. And she said something like, a lot of people don't grow up because it's really fucking hard. Like, most people just get older. And I was thinking about that. Like, grow up means there's probably constantly something you could be wrestling with. And so if you're wrestling with it, you're probably growing. And I can't stand the idea of stagnation.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon that's why I've always got something on my plate. Also, I think it'd be really boring if you stayed the same version of yourself. Like, I met a friend in town today who I haven't seen for ages, and they're like, you know, you're completely different. And I was like, yeah, I do kind of routinely kill myself every few years. Yeah.
And were they exactly the same then, or?
No, I think everyone's growing in their own paces, but it's like, I think it's like, it's a bit like a wave. You can either choose to kind of surf it or you can get crushed under it. Either way, you'll come out in the wash on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's people who are denying the huge waves above their head. And you can see that in them. You're like, right, it's going to come, but you really don't want that divorce. So, yeah, people do grow. I think it's like anything. I think you can do it at a quicker rate or not. I don't know. Don't know if I'm growing. I think I am.
So the comments been busy or quiet, or
On here?
just people announcing that they've arrived?
Yeah, that's the right. Obviously, the question from Emma. Josie sadly said that she had to go, but she's going to watch more later. Yeah, all right. Nothing more from Nasty Queen as well.
So it's nice when new people join in. I think people get bored.
Are you happy with it, where it's come out with so far, then, James?
I think I'm finally getting there, yeah.
Yes, but actually we had sort of conversations about internal fights, and there's one going on between you and the canvas.
Yeah, well, sometimes you do battle, and sometimes you just go, okay, what do you want to do then? Just you tell me, I don't know anymore. It stops being up to me. This is very interesting. I'm going to have that green back in here.
Is this only live or is it recorded?
Yeah, it sort of stays available afterwards, so you can watch it later.
I also have a friend that might find it very interesting. And she's thankfully got a good attention span.
Well, it's much better if you just sort of zip through it. You scrub through it. So, and you can change the speed on YouTube as well.
Having on the background of doing something else as well, it's kind of useful. Because every so often you'll glance across, hear bits, see bits, and notice how much it's changed.
Me and my friend bullied a cat into looking at us the other day. we kind of walked past and this cat was just like not looking at all. And so then we just like decided to stop and just stare at it and start like goading it. And you could tell the cat really didn't want to look, but we just kept going until the cat like looked. And then the moment it looked, it was so ashamed of itself that it looked. It was such a delicious. It was absolutely delicious.
Take the wins.
They can't help it.
I think it's really cool how the earlier on green that you put on as place marks is remained on there and just become a part, and it's rather than then doing the kind of the lighter parts at the end, it's already there, you're just building around it.
Let's do it. And I could tell I was having a bit of a difficult time with this in the middle. I mean, I think it does show, but I have also got you in there.
Do you dream of painting?
No, it's like a waking dreaming when I'm doing it. Sometimes I think I'm painting when I'm not. Shouldn't say things like that out loud. That's hard. That's the hard thing to describe. But the thing is, I suppose in a way I am actually just not holding a brush. But I'll find myself trying to make a decision. I'm going, well, how dark is that? What's that colour? How does that colour exist? And then I look down, expecting to see a palette, and they're in I'm on a train or something, and that's slightly worrying.
That's great.
I don't think it is. I Honestly, that kind of thing stresses me out a bit.
That's like being able to enjoy, like consciously enjoy Alzheimer's. It's like, what? Haha. I'm in a place that I thought I wasn't.
Okay, what's this doing? This is very easy to get confused with. That should do it. Don't get in that anymore. There's heads tipped again.
You can start fiddling there with it.
Oh wow! I think I have already started, but I think that's pretty much there.
I wish you'd paint that expression on your face. That'd be a great painting.
So is there anybody that you know that would be interested in sitting?
Yeah.
That's from around the area.
Around the area.
Well, I mean, anyone would be willing to travel. I don't.
I mean, I have a friend. She usually sits for people painting. She's really good, but maybe that's not what you're looking for.
I'm looking for just people who are, yeah, not. I'm not looking for people who sort of model regularly to do a job. I'm looking for people who are interesting.
I mean, she is also that, but
But that's the bit we want to paint.
yeah,
Wouldn't really be about.
yeah.
I haven't thought about doing some stuff from models, but it's a different kind of thing. Yeah.
That would be the quick answer. There's someone called Tyler I'd love you to be able to paint, but I don't know if we can.
Yeah, it's hard getting people to turn up.
This is the dig man.
How many layers is that under?
You turned up, but I have had sort of. It's very easy for people not to take it seriously, and if it's not something you're actually into, why would you? I expect that, but I don't know. I need to do a certain amount of reliability.
Yeah, well, he's
Which
definitely reliable. It would be the shyness maybe of it.
Oh, okay.
He's a good musician, and he's a very interesting person.
Well, I like the idea of doing some living room gigs.
You might know him, Tyler Rawlings.
I feel like I should now.
Maybe you taught him guitar.
I don't think so. I don't remember that.
Anyway, could only ask.
Ah, okay. I think you might be there.
Do you always do it on a Monday evening?
Yes.
Maybe one day my friend Lily will come down from Bristol. She's just a very interesting person, and she's very intense. You feel like you're being stared at by Cersei when you kind of look at her.
Well, that's I'm sure we can both play that game. There's a famous quote from Ewan Ungler, which is no one will ever look at you as intensely as I do. Which sounds like the kind of thing a stalker would say. But it's really just sort of referring to the nature of the artist's gaze, if you like.
Yeah, I guess you are looking at someone like Prey, in a certain sense.
No, but it's more about it's every last detail. Well, I feel like that's gone very badly. Is it the mouth? I think it might be the mouth. Yeah.
Well, like the way the mouth is turned.
No, just generally just mouthness.
Just now.
The right mouth. Jeez. Got your far away look. There's a bit of sort of bit of artistic license in there. Ah, okay, here's another bit.
Does that mean while you're looking at someone, you're seeing the essence of them change all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way of putting it. And also, they sort of reveal themselves to you in a weird way. Just simply because of the time element. Not really.
Yeah, you don't usually get to stare at someone for ages.
Yeah, and after a while, you kind of get to know. We know that way you know your own face. That you can kind of, you easily recognise a part of your own face from a fragment of a photo or something like that. And I think it's a similar kind of thing. You get this familiarity of, you know what to expect.
They're like their repository of characters. Maybe not characters, but expressions. It's
Yeah,
like, you're moving into that.
If you look at someone for long enough, they redefine to a certain degree what you think of as a chin or a mouth or a nose or one of those things. Does that make sense? Your nose is now what a nose is. Normally it's my nose. Because that's the one I see in the mirror every day.
Oh, right, okay.
But your nose has got particular qualities, and now that's, in order to paint noseness, I have to paint that. But if I didn't look closely enough, I'd paint my nose.
You paint your, yeah, cool.
And most artists would, and do. I mean, I could easily do a self-portrait without looking in the mirror. I do. And I'm signing it in green, and thank you to everyone, especially Tom, for racing here after I hadn't made myself properly clear. It's his fault.
There's art ambiguity.
And to everyone for coming along and joining in. And I think a bit of that green is going to have to be the signing colour. Oh, yeah. Well, the signature went well with me.
You've done a fair few of those things.
Yeah, I've practiced that. See if we can get square on. We're going to use the view.
Do we want to do the phone cam? Where is the phone cam? No, we're just having that as is.
Yeah. So, yeah, it looks a bit yellow there, doesn't it? Let's release it from its. Let's have a little. Oh, let me zoom in.
Can you see that?
Yeah. So we've got a few nice little flashes of colour. We've got the far eye. Bit of an ear. The mouth still doesn't know what it is.
Mm.
But there's someone there. I guess there's a bit of Tom. But I was quite pleased with sort of the colours and the textures and the slight transience. No, what else? Oh, yeah. Anyway, there's no way I'm going to fix that. You win some, you lose some, and this wasn't entirely happy with how that came out, but
That's very interesting.
What's your thoughts?
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Go around, have a look, and properly
Yeah.
see. Don't just look at it on there. It is weird looking at yourself being paid.
Well, I found it helpful when you were like scrolling at just the top half because I like agree it like above the eye and the eyes. It's like I could see my face and features of my face, but then when you move around to the mouth, I was like, that's not my mouth. But when you zoomed out, there was an expression of me, and I was like, yeah. Don't know. It's
The
interesting.
mouth went through a few changes. If you scrubbed it, well, you saw it happen. But there were bits when it was open and talking, and that didn't work.
It seems a bit kind of like caught between an expression.
Or maybe that's the kind of fighting part that is going on.
But yeah, you don't
Not
have
choosing
as-
which
as
one.
jovial as you were most of the way through. But
Yeah, that's a very
there is an expression you have when you're not talking and laughing, making an effort to be sensual. It looks a bit pained. You might be constipated. I don't know. Assume I know what it is.
yeah.
But that was a lot of fun to be along. Thank you for doing it. And,
That was a pleasure.
yeah, hopefully we'll have some more of these in the future, and I'm going to take some different approaches. Where did you turn to, Vic? I got a thing through the door from the Jehovah's Witnesses the other day, and it had this whole had this whole sort of big visual, and it said he's coming back to save us, and it had a picture of Ben Affleck.
Really?
Looks just like Ben Affleck. I think he was meant to be Jesus on reflection.
Just
So I thought Ben Affleck's coming back.
what film did Ben Affleck save us in to begin with?
I don't know, that's a good point. Yeah.
Dogma.
So much irony.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see your obscure film reference and raise you Empire Records.
You've taken me out of the game. You've taken me out of the game.
Who did Ben Affleck star alongside in Dogma? Was that Matt
It
Damon?
wasn't
Matt Damon.
It was,
Yeah.
wasn't
They're old friends, aren't they?
It was definitely.
Cool.
Good chums.
it? Beyond film references, right. Thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Bit of a late one this evening. Apologies for that.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
See you next time.